Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to another episode of the Falcoholic Live. I'm your host, Kevin Knight at Falcoholic Kevin on Twitter, here to bring you another free agent breakdown. Today, we're going to be talking about free agent cornerback targets for the Falcons. We recently talked about defensive tackle and edge and a bunch of other defensive positions, as well as covering the offense. So if you're interested in getting the targets for those positions, please do check out. We have a playlist on the channel. It's the 2021 offseason playlist that has all of those videos, including free agency basics and possible cuts and restructures for the Falcons to get under the cap. So if you're looking for a primer on all things free agency, with free agency coming up obviously in just a couple of days, definitely check that out to get all the information you need to be ready for next week. Today we will be talking about, like I said, cornerback targets. So there's a few guys that are out there that are obvious in terms of connections with new Falcons coordinator Dean Pease. There's some former Falcons as well that could be intriguing. So we're going to take a look at some of those options. Obviously, the Falcons don't have a ton of money to play around with, but they could, if they're going to spend it on a defensive position. Cornerback is up there with those positions that they really do need to add talent. So without further ado, guys, let's take a look at some free agent cornerbacks that the Falcons might be interested in. So, cornerback targets for the Falcons. There's a number of names we can talk about. The first one is someone who was recently cut. A lot of Falcons fans have already jumped on this name. It is Malcolm Butler, formerly of the Titans. Very obvious connection to Dean Pease. Butler joined the Titans in 2018 when Dean Pease took over as defensive coordinator. He was there with Pease throughout the 2018 and 2019 seasons. Butler hasn't really panned out the way the Titans were probably hoping when they gave him that really massive contract, but he's still been good. I mean, he's definitely been a quality corner, and in 2020 he was once again a very good corner. 100 total tackles, which is an incredible number. That's more like a safety number. He's also very low missed tackle rate, good for a cornerback. 14 pass deflections, 4 interceptions, 83.2 passer rating allowed. Those are all very good numbers, numbers that you would expect from a starting corner. Even better than that, honestly, and compiled to 71.6 PFF grade, which is, of course, a good starter. So Butler is a guy that the Falcons could be interested in. He's probably going to be rather expensive, so that he would be one of the higher end options available for the Falcons. He may or may not be willing to take a more team-friendly deal, or maybe looking for some sort of one-year deal to kind of jump off of, because 2021, with the cap lower, officially going to be a rough year for free agents to really cash in. So it could make sense for Butler to reunite with a guy that he trusts in Dean Pease for a year or two, have some more strong seasons with him on what he would probably hope is an ascending defense, and then try to cash in once more. I like Butler. He's got some versatility, obviously knows the Dean Pease defense, but otherwise, quality player. If the price is right and the Falcons want to spend at corner, Malcolm Butler is one that makes a lot of sense. Next name that we'll talk about, a former Falcon, Brian Poole, recently with the Jets. We all know the Falcons should have never let Brian Poole walk. It was very obvious at the time that it was a big mistake, and since then he's gone on to basically be one of, if not the best slot corner in the NFL, on a Jets defense, which has sometimes been good, sometimes been bad. The team as a whole not been good, but the defense has been a bright spot a lot of times. Just a really consistent, good player. We know how versatile he is in terms of his blitzing ability, in terms of his skills as a run defender. Did have some injury issues last year, only 9 games played, but when he was on the field, he played really, really well. Only a 6.4% missed tackle rate, 7 pass deflections, 2 interceptions, 61.6 passer rating allowed, which is really, really good. And a 77.1 PFF grade, which of course is like a very good starter level. So I think a reunion with Poole could make a lot of sense. With his injuries, he could be looking at taking a lower deal or a 1-year deal. Like I said, in 2021, when we're going to be having a market flooded with veteran players, So a reunion with Atlanta could make sense for Poole to come in, have another strong season. He's just going to be 29. So if he thinks that he has a chance to have a strong season with Dean Pease in Atlanta in 2021, he could cash in again next year with another team. So once again, with Poole, it's going to be more about, does he want to come here and is the money right? But if so, the answer to both those is yes. I think Poole makes a lot of sense and can be a really impact slot defender for this team. I think, like we said, his versatility could make him an excellent chess piece for Dean Pease's scheme. He loves to move his guys around and blitz from all over, so Poole would make a lot of sense there. The third name is one I've brought up in other articles on the site. It was one that was talked about a lot last week because he was rumored to be cut and probably will be cut here very shortly, and that is Desmond Trufant, who was with the Falcons in 2019. Went to the Lions in 2020, unfortunately had a very injury-plagued 2020 season, just 6 games, suffered a hamstring injury in week 1 and just wasn't able to overcome it all year. Whenever he tried to play, it was pretty obvious that he was not healthy. Didn't have a good season for Detroit. Gave up a 111.3 passer rating, and PFF really dragged him over the coals with a 38.4 PFF grade, which is just awful. However, I would say that playing on a hamstring injury, all that stuff, you're not expecting Desmond Trufant to play like that in 2021. It made sense for Detroit to move on because they needed the money. They really, really needed the money with the 2021 cap situation. But Trufant was a good corner as recently as 2019 with the Falcons. He did only play in 9 games in 2019. But he's generally been a very good, consistent corner. This is a classic high upside, high risk signing, but he will not be expensive. I expect him to basically sign a veteran minimum contract this year. And if Trufant's healthy, we know he can be at least a cornerback too, and play at that level. He could be a good stopgap next to A.J. Terrell for a year, provide some veteran depth there, some experience. And if he can't stay healthy or is only able to play half the season, the Falcons aren't really going to be risking too much because, like I said, he's probably taking a veteran minimum contract. So I think it is a gamble worth taking for the Falcons. I don't think he'll be expensive, and I think that it is risk, but I think it's a worthy risk for what you're likely to be paying. You're not really risking a lot in terms of money. So the last guy I'm going to talk about in detail is another Titans player. Only was a Titan briefly, Desmond King. This guy has had the strangest career arc I think I can remember for someone who was an All-Pro only a few years ago. Desmond King was basically the NFL's best slot corner in 2018. Also an All-Pro returner that year, and in 2020 he was basically unceremoniously traded from the Chargers to the Titans, just a 6th round pick as compensation. Very strange. So it was a very puzzling move to me and to a lot of people. But King came to Tennessee, still played at a solid level despite having to completely change defenses and schemes. Started 9 games for the Titans after that trade. Like I said, had a solid season, wasn't as good as his 2018 All-Pro year, but still put up 55 tackles, 2 tackle for loss, 2 sacks, pass deflections, and all that stuff. So 65.5 PFF grade, which is a solid starter, maybe a little bit above average at that point. But King makes a lot of sense. He didn't play with Dean Pease, obviously, because he only recently joined the Titans, but I think King makes a lot of sense for Atlanta because of his versatility. Like I've said, for guys like Brian Poole, Dean Pease really values that versatility and being able to rush guys from all over. And King is a very good blitzer. He's a great run defender. He also, like I said, was an All-Pro returner in 2018. He still has that ability, even though he was kind of de-emphasized in that area with the Chargers. So the Falcons are looking to revamp their special teams and get a key contributor in the secondary. King could make a lot of sense. What really would be the sticking point would be price. Over the cap has him highly valued at over $6 million a year. I don't think he's going to get that, particularly in an offseason. Like I said, very little cap space to go around, a lot of veterans out there. So if he's a little bit cheaper, I think he could make sense for the Falcons, but it's really going to depend on how much he likes Arthur Smith, how much he likes the prospect of the Falcons defense in 2021, and probably whether or not he's going to get a chance to play returner. So those are all things to keep in mind. Quickly, we'll talk about a few other depth players the Falcons could look at. In my priority re-signings piece, I already mentioned 2 former Falcons that I think probably should be re-signed or at least considered. That would be Bleedy Ray Wilson and Darqueze Dennard. Both are likely to sign for the veteran minimum for all of the reasons I mentioned. The other guys are signing for the veteran minimum. We know both can start at a solid level at worst, and both can play multiple spots. Both Ray Wilson and Dennard can play on the inside or outside. So I think they make a lot of sense as guys that can come in, play a versatile role, and provide depth for you at worst. Another guy to talk about would be Jamal Agnew from the Lions. Is he technically a cornerback? I don't know. OTC lists him as a cornerback. He's also listed as a wide receiver in some places, but for the most part, Jamal Agnew would come in to play a very depth role at corner. Mostly would be a returner. He's been one of the NFL's best returners throughout his career. The Falcons have one of his special teams coaches in Marquise Williams, who's now the special teams coordinator for the Falcons. And with the Lions also changing their coaching staff, Agnew could make a lot of sense for the Falcons. I would be pretty surprised if the Falcons don't at least kick the tires on Agnew to bring in that sort of impact returner. Does he provide much as a corner? Not really, but he's technically a corner, so he's worth mentioning. And then one last guy would be Tyler Hall, who's an exclusive rights free agent for the Falcons. Again, obviously will be very cheap because of his status as an ERFA. Could come back as a depth piece as well. Well, guys, there you have it. Several free agent cornerback targets for the Falcons. I think the Falcons are likely to kick the tire on these guys. Again, it's going to come down to how much do the Falcons want to spend at corner. Are they going to make the more depth signings to just try to get through, maybe try to add an impact player in the draft, or do they go after like a Malcolm Butler or Desmond King, Brian Poole, someone in that vein who can be an impact starter this year and can help bolster that unit for possibly some more years to come alongside AJ Terrell. So they have very limited money. We'll see what they do with certain restructures and things like that to get maybe a little bit more. But at the end of the day, it's only going to be a limited number of additions that they can make. And will they make them at corner? I don't know. We'll see. It is a very important position in DMP's defense, obviously, as it is in almost any coordinator's defense. So we'll just have to see. But again, thank you guys for tuning into this video. Please do like and subscribe to the channel if you have enjoyed it, and check out our Patreon, which is patreon.com/falcoholiclive if you'd like to support the channel on a monthly basis and unlock some exclusive perks. Also, guys, we will be doing more shows on Wednesdays. Check out our most recent show, which was Keith Smith, Falcons fullback and special teams ace, that just aired. So check that out if you're interested in getting perspective of a former player. And as I said before, check out our 2021 offseason playlist on the channel page. That will have all the videos you need to get ready for free agency next week, including priority re-signings for the Falcons, how they can clear some cap space through both veteran cuts and restructures, and key free agent targets at every position of note. So if you need to get set up for free agency, just start that playlist. You'll be all set. Everything you need to know about the Falcons free agency period will be right there for you. Again, guys, I am Kevin Knight at Falcoholic Kevin. Thank you for tuning into the Falcoholic Live, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.